Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we are playing some red-white energy, which just got a very nice new tool in the new set of Tarkir Dragonstorm, and that card is Voice of Victory. This is a 2-mana 1/3 with Mobilize 2, which is whenever this creature attacks, you create 2 tapped and attacking 1/1 red warrior creature tokens, and then you sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step. So it kind of attacks as a 3-power guy for 2 mana, but it also has a really useful piece of text that says, your opponent can't cast spells during your turn. That means that we get to resolve basically anything we want while this is in play, and this is a deck that really utilizes making tokens. So if we make these tokens and we have an Ocelot Pride out, we can make some more tokens. If we have a Goblin Bombardment out, then we can ping with these tokens. There are 2 Goblin Bombardments here. For some reason it's only showing 1, but there are 2 of these and 4 of the Amped Raptor as well. So we get to ping a load of tokens at our opponent's face. We can throw them with our Broadside Bombardiers. We can make more of them with Ocelot Pride. We get a bunch of life. This just seems like a perfect card to fit into the shell, which is already, in my opinion, one of the best aggro decks in the format. It's just very low to the ground, very efficient at what it does, and very resilient. The build we're playing today is playing Staff the Storyteller, which is one of my favourite cards. I just love this. Just a nice, fair piece of incremental card advantage that you have to work for. So this will make us a token that can also trigger all our token synergies, and then we can draw some extra cards once we start making a bunch of other tokens, which is something we're going to do a lot. So we've got removal in Plow and Static Prison. We've got Ajani, which can be removal. It can just dome our opponent to the face, keep making guys. We've got ourselves the classic Guide of Souls Ocelot Pride combo going on here. Amped Raptor, which with the 2 energy it comes with, will hit almost everything on our deck bar the Bombardiers and the Magus. So that's pretty decent. I've decided to run 3 Magus today, because there's a lot of like Bug Beans sort of decks which really struggle against Magus. We can go Voice of Victory into Magus. They won't be able to interact with it, and then they should hopefully die to that. Or at least be put off of balance enough that we can win with the pieces we have. I looked at a couple of the red-white energy decks that have been doing well, and sort of amalgamated them into what I thought looked a little bit better. Mana base wise, we've got 1 Elegant Parlor in here. We've got a bunch of lands. We've got 1 energy Aether Hub, sorry. I saw a list that had 2. I thought that was too many, because we do need coloured sources to replace. We're going to try 1 today and see how it feels. We've got the Prismatic Vista, which is a nod to having the Magus of the Moon, so we can get basics. So we've got 4 basics and 3 Vistas. That should be fine. And then our sideboard, we've got 4 Containment Priests. Now, you might think that's a lot, but Sneak and Show and Omnitel are 2 of the best decks at the moment. They're very highly played, and they're also overperforming slightly in terms of their top 8 finishes. So those decks are definitely something you have to keep in mind. So this card can answer those as well as doing stuff against Reanimator. But if we do come against like Reanimator or Oops, we've got a couple of Grafdigger's Cage that can help against that. The Deafening Silence can help against Oops a little bit as well. We've got 2 Battle of Bywater. So our creatures are pretty low to the ground. So if our opponent has like, you know, some bigger monsters, we can just have one-sided Wrath, and that's really, really good. Another Magus for when that's good, a couple of Red Blasts, and 1 Forth Eorlingas for when we want more threats against a control deck. This is a really annoying object for our opponent to have to deal with, because if we have an uncounterable Forth Eorlingas, we can suddenly get the initiative, sorry, not the initiative, the Monarch, and then our opponent's just never getting out of that hole, because we're just going to have all the cards in the world. Yeah, that's pretty much the deck. I'm excited to see how it plays out today. I found this deck to be pretty good, but needed something a little bit more the last few times I played it, and I think Voice of Victory might be that little bit more that we've been looking for. Alright, like and subscribe, and let's get stuck in, and hope that this really is the Voice of Victory for this deck. The lovely people over at 3-for-1 Trading are doing a spring sale from May 7th to May 12th. Get 5% off of all orders over $500 with free worldwide shipping by using the code SPRINGSALE25. Their support helps make this channel viable for me, so support them by clicking the link in the description of this video to browse their enormous inventory and find whatever you need for your Magic collection. We're on the play, which is exactly where we want to be. We've got a curve, 1-drop, 2-drop, and some other stuff. We'll just keep this. Are we beginning with the basic planes? I think so. This is always going to be getting us the basic planes anyway. It just guarantees that we get to turn 2 with all of our mana intact. This also dodges any potential stifle-y stuff that might exist, and we just want the planes anyway, so Ocelot Pride. Next turn we can play the Raptor, see if that creates any interesting situations for us. Polluted Delta, and a pass, so we could be looking at basically anything. Aether Hub. We would have to pay the mana. Sorry, pay the energy to get the mana. So this isn't going to give us the 3 for the Amped Raptor, so we can hit anything. So we're just going to fire this off and hope that we hit a 2-drop. Alright, Amped Raptor, what have you got for us? Staff the Storyteller. Don't mind if I do. Alright, this might be worth countering for our opponents, but if they counter this and they're not going to interact with our Ocelot Pride, then we're going to get some stuff going. Alright, they're brainstorming in response. They fear the Staff of the Storyteller. Alright, we're in with this. So we can start drawing additional cards soon. The Magus doesn't look like it's going to be that effective right now, but we don't know what else is in our opponent's deck. Our opponent could be a combo deck that's going to kill us next turn. And they were just doing a brainstorm, seeing if they want to interact with this or if they need to, because they might not need to, because they might be able to kill us. Basic Swamp. I don't know what it is about these lands. I'm getting ad nauseum Tendril vibes from our opponent here. Broadside Bombardiers. Don't mind if I do. Is it better to play the Bombardiers or is it better to play the Bombardment? I think it's better to play the Bombardiers. Let's get our zoomies on. Big old attack here. Orcish Bowmasters. Okay. They're going to ping down our Ocelot Pride, I suspect. There it goes. They can double block our Broadside. Do I care if they do that? I don't think I do. Because we can just throw a token if they double block here. But now we can just play the board control game. Alright, let's... I think it's the Spirit that goes here because we have Ajani's to draw, which can benefit from us having more cats in play. Goblin Bombardment going to really help us versus the Orcish Bowmasters of the world. But now they've shown us Orcish Bowmasters, I'm not scared that we're going to get hit by anything too scary. Like a combo. Are you attacking for one here? No, I didn't think you were. A land here is interesting. Because this allows us to play around days. So we can fire in the Bombardment. Brainstorm from our opponent. We can attempt a plow on one of these Nethergoyfs. What is the plan here? This can ping into this, and we can just attack for 2. I guess we're going to take our card first. See if that changes anything. Okay, it's an interesting option for next turn, potentially. So, we can kill this by flinging a Raptor. Alright, so we can see what our opponent wants to block with here, and then we can ruin their blocks with our Goblin Bombardment. It's going for this, aren't they? So we can just throw the Raptor at the Nethergoyf and kill it anyway. If I want to, I can kill this Orc Army token. Because Kaito exists, we can't just let this through. They didn't attack last time, but they played some other spells. Okay, they're attacking now. Yeah, we definitely block here. We don't want to get hit by a Kaito. That's the sort of way this game can spin out of control for us. Fatal Push on our guy. Sure. We should have pinged them for 1. I just clicked through that by accident. Missed a point of damage. Hopefully it won't matter. Blue is this Murktide Regent. Yep, it's looking good for our opponent over there. But we've got another card in the bank here. Maybe that will help us out. We've got static prisons and things that can answer this. Source of Plowshares. Alright, let's start off with drawing a card. It's a land, not the one we wanted. Okay, so I think we go Guide of Souls. Then we'll go and get a basic plains here. So we've got more white mana underneath a Blood Moon effect. Brainstorming in response. Get some more energy. And we pass it over. So if they attack, we can crack back. They're a long way off bringing this Nethergoyf back. Here is the Kaito that we were afraid of before. Neither of our creatures are really good enough to warrant tapping down at this moment in time. So they might just... Oh, they're just going to surveil. This is wrong. They should have attacked us with the Murktide Regent first. Because they're not going to get to draw a card off of this because we haven't lost any life. This is just a surveil 2. They just milled 2 cards. Alright, they're chilling. Removal spell's good. Broadside Bombardiers. Don't mind if I do. So this can attack the Kaito. And then we can put 2 counters on it so it auto kills the Kaito. Right, I think we're in a pretty decent spot right now. Am I trying to fling anything at my opponent? We can fling this for 5. And then we can fling this for 5 next turn. How important do I think our opponent having only 1 blue mana is? Pretty important. I could fling this Staff of Storyteller. And that's fine. We got 2 cards and a token out of it. It did plenty. So next turn we just have lethal if our opponent has nothing. Blue and a black. Is this going to be a Baleful Strix? We did miss 1 damage earlier by not pinging to a bombardment, so hopefully that won't come back to haunt us. Alright, we will shoot our opponent for 1. This means they won't get the Petty Theft as a Brazen Borrower anymore. So that'll go to the graveyard instead. Can I put the Nethergoyf in? Maybe, but it wouldn't have been very large. But we are threatening lethal now. Sure, you can Wasteland my thing. What was your last card? Fatal Push. Just ping our opponent for another one. They should attack with the Murktide here. Yeah, okay, they agree. Because otherwise, how are they ever winning this game? We don't actually have any red mana right now. It's a little bit awkward. A Wasteland. Not really the one I wanted, if I'm being honest. I will just take out one of their lands, though. It might restrict what they can do. Things like Hardcast Kaito becomes a lot more difficult. Alright, so this grows their Murktide and gets them back in Nethergoyf. So our opponent is certainly ahead now. We're going to need a little bit of help from here on out. An Amped Raptor we can't cast because we don't have any red mana. This Aether Hub causing us issues. So we are just dead on board here. So we'll scoop that one up and go to the post board. I think our opponent's deck is relatively well suited to what we're doing, but we do have some nice tools that we can leverage. I would like these Battle of Bywaters for their big boys, and I would like these Pyroblasts also for the big boys. I'm not wholly convinced the Magus of the Moon. Like, we're not a deck that ramps out Magus of the Moon. This isn't really where we want it, so we can take those out. And then I don't really want the Wasteland either. We can go down on Wasteland, and we just keep all the pressure. We've still got 20 lands here. That's plenty. Our curve pretty much stops at 2. Alright, we give this a whirl. 1 drop into 2 drop. This is what we came here to do. We'll probably just play on one of each basic to begin with. Basic Plains into Guide of Souls. Next turn we get Ajani. The turn after we play Bombardment, ping a cat, and then our Ajani gets to flip, and then we have like kittens coming all out of our ears and doe in our opponent's creatures in face. And we're going to see, we're just going to see a Fatal Push here, or we Tamiyo. Okay, that's fine. Right, we've got an answer to a Murktide down the stretch. That's nice to have. Let's get our basic mountain here. Can I have an Ajani, please? Not a bad day's target. Force of Will, though. Right, there's no point attacking here because our opponent's just going to block it. We'll save ourselves a click. We could have attacked pre-combat and maybe our opponent doesn't block. So maybe miss 1 damage there. Ponder. They didn't shuffle. So they seem to be representing a Fatal Push here. They got their fetch down they can crack. Let's get that going. Let's try and play out a Bombardment. They're going to kill our Guide of Souls in response. Blue mana. They're looking for an answer. Okay, they have a Hydroblast. It's pretty good. We need to draw one of the many creatures in our deck. Well, if this flips, we can just turn it into a prison here. Counterbalance is pretty good though, isn't it? Our mana costs are very low. A Guide of Souls. I guess we play a static prison first to check the counterbalance. It's a Barrogoyf. Not a big lover of Barrogoyf, if I'm being perfectly honest. What do I want to get rid of here? We could just delete a clue, so they can't ever draw this clue again. If we're expecting to sacrifice a static prison, we can just do that. Or do you want to get rid of the counterbalance for a turn cycle? It's kind of an interesting choice here. They've got Barrogoyf, and so they've got nothing really going on. I think I'm actually going to take one of their clues. Just cut off some of this card advantage they've been getting. Deploy our little Guide of Souls. We know this will resolve because there's just a Barrogoyf on top. Oh, they're shuffling. They don't want the Barrogoyf. That's good news because Barrogoyf's pretty big. They're desperate for us not to have another Guide of Souls. Right, we got Undersea Sewers here, so being able to surveil into a 1-drop. Right, they've binned over a Bowmasters. Do they have a 1-drop on top now? We find out together. They did have a 1-drop. So I was going to try and use the energy we're getting to pump and just have a big enough creature to tangle. But now they have a Brainstorm on top. They get to flip the Tamiyo, and things get a little bit squiffy for us. So they attack. Oh, they got Barragoyf, not Barragoyf, Nethergoyf as well. So they attack, they get a clue, and then they brainstorm. Alright, maybe we were supposed to hit the counterbalance there instead of one of the clues, but I had kind of other uses for my energy intended. I'm saying no to paying on this. They're going to try and brainstorm and counter our Ajani here. We could have hit the... Yeah, we could have hit the counterbalance, so we didn't have to play that game. But our opponent had very few resources, and I kind of just wanted to crimp them back on those a little bit. So we can attack with the flying guy, but then it'll die to our Battle of Bywater. I think we nail one of their lands here. Just make it harder for them to do very much. Drawing a card. So they got Brainstorm and Fatal Push in hand. I think it's more important to clear this Nethergoyf next turn, whilst keeping our Guide of Souls around. It can always jump in the sky in a bit. This should be a relatively difficult matchup for us because our opponent is a little bit bigger than us and more control-y. So they've got like a decent chunk of removal spells. They've got some bigger creatures. So like in the 1-for-1 creature stakes, they should be able to beat us if they can take apart the glue that makes them better than what they are in our deck. So we know there's this Fatal Push hanging around. We have an interesting choice here. We can attack with the Cat Warrior at the Tamiyo and jump it. They want to get rid of our Ajani. Should have to decide whether it's worth jumping this or not. I think it is. So we're trying to bait our opponent into using their abilities incorrectly there. But this will stop our opponent getting back a Fatal Push next turn. We can trade blows because if we're gaining 3 life a turn and taking 4, that works out alright for us. We have no reason to keep cards in hand here, so we'll play our land out. We can always Battle of Bywater and blow up our own cat at some stage if we need to flip an Ajani that way. Right, you can plus your Tamiyo, so we have a lethal swing on the Tamiyo next turn if they have nothing. Alright, they just drew another Fatal Push. Okay, so they should start bashing with another Nethergoyf here. They got a Murktide as well. Go Gadget, Battle of Bywater, I guess. No cards in hand, blind, counterbalance. This is 3, so it will still die to the Battle of Bywater. We don't get to put any damage on the Tamiyo this turn. Unless we can draw a 1-drop. An Amped Raptor. That is cool, but I think we just need to not mess around here. Do you have one of your Barragoyfs? They probably have like a Borrower and a couple of Barragoyfs to trigger this. Force of Will. That is a dead card for our opponent to have next turn. We get to blow up both of their guys. That felt pretty nice. We get a delicious food token that we can't do anything with. If they want to buy something back with their Tamiyo, it will die. This game is surprisingly even, considering our opponents had the run of it in a lot of ways. So they can try and draw a blue card. Oh, a Pyroblast is very nice here, though, isn't it? Let's fire off an Amped Raptor. What do you have underneath your counterbalance? A Polluted Delta. That's no good. So we put this on the bottom just so we have maximum energy when the Amped Raptor goes off. A Sword to Plowshares. That is not the one, is it? So if we attack the Tamiyo, we attack it for 2. That seems okay. So our opponent's going to crack a clue in the end step. We can use that window to Pyroblast this counterbalance. Destroy target opponent if it's blue. Because we know the top card of our opponent's library, we know they don't have anything that can interact with this. If we just get a clean exchange on the counterbalance, we have full information. They're about to draw a mystery card. We can crack the Tamiyo down for another 3 next turn. They are not quite at hardcast Force of Will mana, but they are just treading water by constantly putting counters on this Tamiyo. And Ajani, that's a pretty good one, isn't it? Did you draw a blue card for your Force of Will? I suspect the answer is yes, but they have a clue to crack as well. But I'll take a 2 mana like a Hymns to Turak here. Blue and a black, just cracking the clue. Can I have my Ajani? If we get the Ajani, we get enough energy to pump the Raptor as well. Petty theft on the Guide of Souls. Okay. Guess we go to attacks, and we just gotta keep grinding this Tamiyo down. It's only for 1 damage now, so they can minus it without losing the Tamiyo. They will obviously lose on the next turn. Let's play out the Guide of Souls. So they have a land, they have hard cast Force of Will, but that's not great against our current board. The Brazen Borrower can't block our guys unless they fly. So it kind of incentivizes us to not put counters on stuff. A Barrow Goyf. Yeah, that's a large creature, isn't it? Right, let's just crack this now and get a little bit of deck thinning. It's borderline inconsequential percentage, but it is more than 0, so I'll take that. An Elegant Parlor. Voice of Victory. What does this actually do for us? This isn't where we need to be right now. It can give us a lot of tokens, but we just need to answer this Barragoyf, really. And we also need to answer the Tamiyo. So they can't attack this turn, but then they're going to put the Tamiyo up again, then ultimate it the turn after. So this food token is actually useful when we're running the Ocelot Pride. It's also good with Broadside Bombardiers, so it makes sense not to crack it. Okay, they got Tamiyo plus and up. They've got Hardcast Force of Will available. Okay, they're tapping out of Hardcast Force of Will, so they probably have just another Barragoyf. That's probably worth playing here. But then that would leave them dead to a Battle of Bywater. Right, they just bring back a Nethergoyf. Are you going to attack? I don't think they attack with a Barragoyf here. That goes horribly for them. I don't think we have a great set of options available for us here. So we can send the cat in to the Tamiyo. They can just let the Tamiyo take 1. This isn't good. Maybe we could have done this last turn, but we kind of deterred an attack. I don't know. I think we're just going to lose this Tamiyo. We don't have enough energy to do anything here. Yeah, so Tamiyo just takes 1. Sure, they lose their Tamiyo when it ultimates, but they honestly don't care about that. I'll play the Ocelot Pride. This might be enough to do something. Alright, so we gain life here, so we don't need to crack the clue. So we get a cat that we can block a Barragoyf with. So Ocelot Pride is the sort of card that might be able to do enough to stop our opponent from winning this one. Even with like a million cards over there. Unless they've got some kind of haymaker. But we have the City's Blessing. All the tokens we get are getting doubled. It's going to be relatively difficult to push through what we're doing, even though they're going to have all the cards. So this is what, 15 cards, 16 cards, something like that? Okay. But now they have to actually scroll through their hand, which is obviously a difficult one. But how many spells are we going to have that resolve? An Orcish Bowmaster. That's going to take our Ocelot Pride. Yep. That's going to flip our Ajani. They're going to fatal push in response. Yep. This is what you can do when you have 16 cards in your hand, 17 cards. Right, so we get no Ajani. How do we get out of this? I guess we're not resolving any spells. We can probably just call it a day there. Like, both of those games felt pretty close. We just needed things to go slightly differently. But then once it starts sliding out of control, like we couldn't deal with the Tamiyo. Maybe if we hit the Tamiyo with the Pyroblast instead and just try and ignore the counterbalance, that could work. Maybe that was the correct way. There was 2 decisions that we made in that game. The first one was our static prison choice. We could have prisoned out the Tamiyo for a bit. We could have prisoned out the counterbalance for a bit. But I didn't really want to keep the energy around. So I don't think it really mattered what we hit. And I think if we were just going to play this just to get the energy, like we basically did, it made sense to get rid of the clue there, even though it looked a bit weird. But I think Pyroblasting, if we'd have Pyroblasted the Tamiyo instead, this whole situation doesn't really happen. We do end up having to deal with Barragoyf at some point, but that's a lot easier for us to deal with than half our opponent's deck. So I think that's probably the mistake that we could have done differently and maybe got this one. Alright, on to round 2. For the best Eternal experience this summer, check out Eternal Mania in Hasselt, Belgium from August 8th to 10th. Aside from hosting the European Legacy Masters, they have a whole host of other tournaments from team trios to old school and pre-modern. I will be there playing Legacy and hanging out as a special guest. This will also be the first event that I'll be giving out my own special Marit Lage tokens, so why not come down to enjoy an awesome weekend run by one of the best TOs in Europe. Guide of Souls into Staff Should kind of get us somewhere. So we get the basic plains on turn 1. Our opponent mulligan to 5 doesn't fill me with the most amount of hope. We're not great at beating decks that just go on turn 1 or 2. Right, maybe they're a different sort of combo deck, or maybe they just have some unlucky hands. Right, Prismatic Vista, let's go and get a basic plains, please. Let's deploy our 1 mana 1/2. Okay, I think we go and get a basic mountain here. Just in case there's any sort of wasteland shenanigans we have to worry about. Let's play a staff here. Does our opponent have Orcish Bowmasters? If they have Orcish Bowmasters, it's not ideal for us here if we attack. So I don't think we get to attack into what our opponent has here. A Brainstorm. So our opponent could just be like an Omnitail deck. They don't have any sort of Bowmaster, but they could be Bug Beans, and they could be like getting a Black Source off this, and Bowmasters ping this for 1, blocking it, and we lose our Guide of Souls for like half of our opponent's card. Whereas if we wait, we can play 1 more creature, and then we can fly over, and we don't have to worry about Orcish Bowmaster. Ancient Tomb, okay. We're very much in the Omnitail ballpark. Are they going to stock up? Right, they're going to crack this to thin their deck slightly, so their stock up is better. So that suggests to me they're playing a stock up first. Nope, just a show and tell, eh? I guess I'll put in our 3 power thing and a Traxxer. Okay, that's not so bad. Our opponent doesn't have any mana that works anymore, which is pretty nice. We do need to get through an Atraxa though. But that is a problem that will work out soon, I'm sure. Okay, so I'm going to take an Emrakul, a Ponderous / Show and Tell, and then one of their instants, and then their Lotus Petal. So I get Lotus Petal, Veil of Summer, Show and Tell. So not taking Force or Brainstorm. Interesting. And then not taking the Ponder either. Alright, so there is their blue mana. I guess I would like to draw a card here. A Karakas. That is kind of unfortunate for us. I guess we'll try this Plow. They didn't take the Force. That might mean they already have a Force ready to go. I just didn't want a second one. But we don't really have a choice. We need to... Okay, so they got rid of the Show and Tell. We can't really attack into the Atraxa here. Our opponent's going to gain some life. We just need to beat this Atraxa. We've got... what? 5 cards that we can draw that can answer this immediately, and then a bunch of other stuff that can maybe work towards something that matters in regards to it. Okay, here comes the Guide of Souls. That gains us some energy. Not enough energy for us to care about though. Alright, I'm going to play out this Karakas. If for some reason our Magus Of The Moon dies, we get to bounce this Atraxa. And I guess that'll do us for now. Cycling the Lorien Reveal. So they're going to have access to blue mana. Okay. So maybe we need to just start coming in with the Magus. Because if the Magus dies, we get to get rid of this Atraxa. I think I'm going to block this time. I don't know how many chances we'll get to block. Our opponent might have ways of getting our creature out of the way at some stage. And I just don't want to risk it. So this turn we attack with our Magus and jump it. Do you want to trade out this Magus? No. Didn't think you would. But what this means is next turn we have the Magus on blocks. We know 2 of our opponent's cards. So we take 7 this turn, and then we just hold the Magus back from this point onwards. Because this just gives it flying permanently, it's not just when attacking. An Ocelot Pride. Okay. Let's start doing this nonsense, shall we? We've got the City's Blessing, so we're going to get some good stuff going here. 3 mana. A Cunning Wish. Sure. A little bit worried about what this Cunning Wish is going to be. So we're going to be gaining a lot of life. Sublime Epiphany. 1, 2, 3, 4. They don't have the mana to cast this yet. They do next turn. Let's draw a card now. Just in case our opponent isn't long for this world. They can use this to copy their Atraxa. This will put us above 2 hits from an Atraxa as well, because this has lifelink. No, sorry. Does it not have lifelink? No, it's only the Ocelot Pride that has lifelink. Apologies. Okay, so we're going to... Are we bouncing this Atraxa or not? If we bounce it, they can just Sublime Epiphany and copy it in response. And that's really annoying. So I guess we don't do that. Let's draw a card. A Static Prison, you say? Kind of need to gain some life here. How do we gain life? I guess we start with a Static Prison here. Because they can counter this, but then we can Karakas over the top. A Spell Pierce. I'll pay. 3 cards in hand and we know what they all are. I would like to exile your Atraxa, please. Okay, so they can bounce this if they want to. I guess we play out an Aether Hub here. Is that better than playing out an Elegant Parlor? I think it is. No, sorry, I think the Elegant Parlor is better. All right. I think we pump the Ocelot Pride here. And I think we just pump one of our guides. We could try and pump the Pride so it's big enough to first strike down the Atraxa. What are they doing here? They're going to counter our thing. You can choose as many of these as you want, so they might as well. So they're going for counter target activated ability or triggered ability, drawing a card, and bouncing our Static Prison. So out goes this. In response, we will bounce this out of play. So we have a Static Prison in play. So if they put in an Omniscience, we Static Prison it away. So they're not actually in that great a spot here. I think they can still win this one, and so can we. It's pretty even. Let's see what they take. They can't take both stock ups, so we can scribble one of those out. Lotus Petal, Omniscience, stock up Forest, Force of Will. So no Intuition, no Ponder, no Preordain, no Brainstorm. Okay, and we know they have an Atraxa in hand as well. But we deal some damage here. That's going to gain us some life. We want to crack this for white mana. Crack this for our Elegant Parlor. Then we can surveil the land that we might be, the thing we might be drawing. Yes, I'll have a Broadside. I've got a couple of cards in the bank. If our opponent casts an Omniscience, sorry, a Show and Tell, it's not going to go well for them. They played a Forest and they've played their Lotus Petal here. 4, 8, 9, 10. They don't have are they just going to cast just an old-fashioned Atraxa from hand? An Omniscience. Okay, so they're just playing, just hard casting Omniscience and they get the Emrakul. We take 15, then we Static Prison the Emrakul, but we can't Static Prison through. Okay, so they're playing another Omniscience here. So they should be able to just stock up a bunch as well. I think our opponent gets us here. It's not 100% guaranteed. Atraxa, yeah, I think we can probably call it a day there. That was really close. We got some red blasts, and that's pretty handy. So I would like to have access to our red blasts. That's an important one. And then Battle of Bywater can kill their big monsters, if that's the thing we're interested about. Containment Priest stops them just putting in an Atraxa. So I have some interest in that one. I don't believe Magus Of The Moon is going to be very good. So we take those out. Voice of Victory is fine here. The stuff for Storyteller is a touch slow. Deafening Silence can stop our opponent from being able to rip with all their bits and pieces. So there's a lot of options we have. I don't really think this is a Goblin Bombardment matchup. We're not trying to like ping our opponent down by little bits. We can take out one of our Wastelands. We want Guide of Souls, Ocelot Pride. How useful are the plows? Like if they put in their big guys, we're probably in trouble anyway. So we can at least trim on one of these plows, maybe two. We already have the Static Prisons. And maybe we'll take out... Actually, maybe we'll take out 2 staffs and keep in one of these plows. Is Battle of Bywater better than a plow? I think it probably is, actually. So we'll have those instead. Do I want a Forth Eorlingas just so we can keep drawing some more cards? Maybe. I don't think so, though. Maybe we can actually get this Voice of Victory up and running in one of these games. That'd be nice. Okay, we can keep this. So the Deafening Silence means that when they start going off, so when they show and tell an Omniscience, whatever, they don't get to play any more spells, so we can untap and maybe have a chance at blowing it up with the Static Prison. It's a little sketchy, but it's what we have. It also means they can't just Lotus Petal out an early show and tell. It means they can't cantrip multiple times in a turn. It does slow their roll. A Ponder. But if they have the Omniscience Emrakul when they show and tell, then we do just lose that, because Emrakul is a creature spell. So this turn is interesting. We can either play out our Amped Raptor, or we can play out our Containment Priest. Don't really know I'm fetching basics, actually. I think it's the Raptor. Swords, Plowshares. Blank. Every time I play Amped Raptor, I'm always underwhelmed by it. I guess it was fine in one of our earlier games. Show and tell. An Omniscience. An Atraxa. I don't get any more spells this turn. Traditionally speaking, though, these sorts of show and tell decks crush aggro decks. There is an Emrakul. We are dead. Alright. Crushed pretty decisively. There's a reason I played for Containment Priest, but Containment Priests aren't very good against Omnitel. They're reasonable. Sometimes they do show and tell and Atraxa. They're better against sneak attack decks. Okay, let's go to round 3. Well, we have a Voice of Victory hand, but it's not very good. So I think we're going to mulligan this one. I guess we're on the draw. We have a lot of lands we can draw still. It's a lot of 3-drops. Alright, we're going to keep this one because I want to see how good Voice of Victory is. I would like to have a 1-drop. Maybe we still draw one. Who knows? I don't really want our coloured source to get wasted here. Okay, we don't need to do that. We can just play our fetch land. Our opponent could be playing something like an opposition agent here. A Mox Diamond. Off of a Swamp. Swamp Mox Diamond. There's a Wasteland. There's a Bayou. A Liliana. Alright, we might be doing some Pox stuff here. Each player discards a card. I think it's probably the Voice here. This isn't a matchup where it's going to shine a lot. Let's go and get ourselves a basic. I think the play here is Static Prison, this Liliana. We could have gone for a really weird line where we Static Prison the Mox Diamond and then Wasteland them. But I don't really want to take that line here. Got Guide ourselves down. Another Liliana. Okay. So they minus on this. We play the Bombardiers. We kill a Liliana. And then we see where things lie after that. We can let them have the Liliana back. They would keep the one on 3 though. Which isn't ideal. I guess we say no. Pay to prevent this. Yes. Okay. Nearly clicked the wrong way around there. I don't think the Magus is that good given that our opponent has access to the Mox and the basic. So we can attack Liliana now. And then when we give them back their Liliana, we can be the first ones to... We can like be the one to shred it straight away before it gets any value. Exploration. Our opponent is on a Karn-based Pox build. Interesting. Small Pox. I guess we go to discard a 3-drop. What land do we lose here? I don't really just want to go into the dirt with our opponent here because they've got Liliana coming soon. So yes, I will pay to stop them getting their Liliana right now. Next turn they will have a Liliana, but we can attack it for 3 and kill it next turn. So this should work out for us because the Voice of Victory can get it done. But it depends what our opponent draws. There's a lot of options our opponent can draw in their deck, like another Smallpox or just a removal spell. A land is not unwelcome here. We do have to play out this because this is the only thing that can kill the Liliana next turn because it comes in with 2 1/1 friends that are attacking. We can play the stuff as Storyteller first and we just charge up a bunch of cards in this. So we just need our opponent to brick for this 1 turn. A land. Okay. Do they have a Dryad Arbor? It's unlikely, but not impossible. So we play the stuff as Storyteller first. We want to get a basic mountain here, I think. so that we have basics to operate on, and we also have the white mana for this. So we go to attacks. This will attack Liliana. Attack. Attack. And then we get 2 counters on our Staff of Storyteller. Look at that. Beautiful. I will draw a card now when we know it's safe to do so. We're not going to get hit by Bowmasters or anything. Alright, we've assembled an engine here. This voice plus the staff is pretty cool. This is hopefully going to recover us from what our opponent's done to us so far. This is what I wanted to play this deck for. This little combo. Alright, we managed to get game 1 there. Forth Eorlingas seems like it's going to be actively good here. We've seen a Karn. I don't know what to do about that. Magus of the Moon sometimes has some text here, but it is a 3-drop. That doesn't necessarily pressure the most. And we take out one of the Maguses for one of the Forth Eorlingases. Do I just want some 2-drops? I don't think so. Haven't seen anything coming out of their graveyard. I think we're just on getting the Forth Eorlingas in, because our opponent really struggles to deal with things like the Initiative and the Monarch, because they don't really attack very much. I like the Bombardment here because it allows us to ping down Planeswalkers, which is kind of a big deal. Just 1 land against the land destruction deck. Let's mulligan for some more lands. Oh no. Down to 5 cards versus our opponent's deck. Not where you want to be. I guess we get rid of these 2 things. Keep as many lands as we can. We've got a Guide of Souls into Staff of Storyteller line. We can get Thought Seized. I suspect we are. Do they take our 1-drop? Do they take our Card Advantage Engine? It's probably the Card Advantage Engine, but it could be the 1-drop. I just don't know what's in their hand. So if they take the Card Advantage Engine, they probably have an answer for the Guide of Souls. If they take the Guide of Souls, it means they don't have an answer for the Guide of Souls immediately. Or they have another discard spell, which is a different and equally problematic problem. Alright, Ocelot Pride, off you go. Not a bad rip. So next time we can play Staff and put an additional counter on it. So they really need to nail this Staff now. But we still get to do Ocelot Pride. If we connect once with Ocelot Pride, I'm going to feel good. If we connect multiple times, then things just get better and better. Voice of Victory, though. I think I would rather have the Ocelot Pride. I think I would rather have the Staff of Storyteller than the Voice of Victory. Because this allows us to recover from what our opponent's doing to us. If they have Orcish Bowmasters, it's obviously bad for us, but that's going to be the case, whatever. Alright, Pussycat. Can you deal the damage you need to deal? No Bowmaster. Alright, we get a token. I'm feeling good now. They might have things like Toxic Deluge, but hopefully we can recover after that using the Staff of Storyteller. Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale. Well, that's a thing, isn't it? So no to this one. No to this one. Yes to this one. Just going to keep putting lands on top. At some point we can start harvesting the goo from inside the Staff of the Storyteller. A Mox Diamond, you say? Feels like getting a City's Blessing against a Pox deck is not the easiest thing. Wasteland, that's horrible for us. Wow, they have something that's good enough to not... Okay, so they're going to get this Karn going. Right. What is the plan here, opponent? Interesting. They've given us a way of killing their Karn now. Wow, no, not exactly. You say no to this one. You say yes to this one. Say yes to this one. They land. Attack all creatures that Karn the Great Creator, please. They are forcing us to pay for the Staff of Storyteller, which is why they animated it. Thoughtseize. Sure, this is kind of about what's in play rather than what's in my hand, I think, right now. We can worry about playing spells from my hand later. So we could just let everything die, and Bombardiers was an option we had last turn. But then our staff would die, and then we wouldn't have anything to throw at the Karn anyway. What are you going to do with your Karn? Are you going to activate it on the staff and then Wasteland us? That seems reasonable. Blast Zone, we have a 0, a 1, and a 2. So not the end of the world there. We could get this Voice of Victory in play, because that is pretty good. They're not plussing on our staff this time. Just crack this and go and get a mountain. So we got basics. So we'll let this die. Sorry, Pussycat. And then we pay for the Pussycat, this one. And then we draw a land and play Voice of Victory. Excellent. It just attacks the Khan. So Voice of Victory is a thing we only have to pay 1 for, but it deals 3 damage. It's kind of a big deal. Okay. Voice of Victory. Are you going to be victorious for us? Our opponent might be able to Khan here. They could also just put a counter on the Blast Zone, which would be pretty good, because that would take out our voice and our staff. Yep, our opponent decided to do that. Okay, so probably looking at bashing with the Ocelot Pride. All these cards saved up in the staff that we're not going to get to enjoy. That is upsetting. Are they going to fetch anything with a Khan? They're going to animate our staff here. So I'm going to keep a cat around. I'm going to keep the voice around. I'm going to let the staff go. I'm going to keep the Ocelot Pride around. Then draw a Wasteland. Maybe we do want Magus, I don't know. So now they're going to pop the Blast Zone to kill our voice. Right, I'm going to attack the Khan with everything. So we save 3 guys next turn. And then we bash Khan for 3, which will be enough to kill it. If we can dodge Wasteland or Smallpox or any other horrendous thing that's going to jam us up. They can just minus the Khan and get some value out of their sideboard right now. So they could go minus, get an Ensnaring Bridge. Looks like that's what's happening. What do they have here that's really good? The world is their oyster. It could be anything. It is the bridge. We have Static Prisons to answer that. Bridge. 1 card in our opponent's hand. Can they play it? Yeah, they can. We're going to need a Static Prison pretty sharpish. Each player discards a card. I'll discard my little Pussycat. Broadside Bombardiers. That's probably not going to be attacking anytime soon. I think we're only supposed to save 2 of them in case we draw a Static Prison. But the Liliana plus the Ensnaring Bridge is just going to keep them safe until they want to do something spooky. Right, so we save 2 of these. So we say no to the first one. We say yes to this one. Yes to this one. And draw for turn. Magus of the Moon. An interesting proposition. Unfortunately, we don't get to do anything with it. Maybe we're supposed to just let these guys die. Nile Spellbomb. Sure. And just try and draw something off the top that works. I think our opponent is going to win this game, though. Getting a card here is risky. This could enable us to attack. It did not enable us to attack. Right, I'm just going to let these guys die now. We can cast everything in our deck on 3 mana. A Broadside Bombardiers. I guess we're casting it. Maybe it incentivizes our opponent to minus the Liliana instead. This Urza Saga is unlikely to make anything that attacks us. Each player discards a card. Sure. Am I saving my Bombardiers? The only 3-drop we could draw that matters is the one of Magus of the Moon, which I think is good enough. An Arid Mesa. Okay, I will play that out. Have we lost our Elegant Parlor already? Losing a bunch of permanents. There's not really a good way our opponent can split these piles. What is the exact text here? That player sacrifices all permanents in the pile of their choice. Okay. So I think we're susceptible to Wasteland whichever way we sack them, aren't we? I guess we choose to sacrifice pile 2. That was always an ability back in the day where people would try and gain people by saying, you choose a pile, thinking it's the pile you're keeping. Oh no, but you said you choose that pile. You don't get to do the thing. Angle shooters back in the day, not nice. I don't really want to keep playing this game. I think I'm just going to go to game 2. This isn't going to be the most exciting content if I just keep playing this one. Let's go back to sideboard. Maybe we do want the Magus Of The Moon just to shut off some of these annoying things that our opponent has access to. Start a Storyteller. They have Calms, so maybe we just board down on those. I think that'll do. Our Graveyard Hate doesn't really stop what our opponent's doing. We don't have anything like a Ghost Vacuum or something. Just gotta let them have their loam, I suppose. I would like a 1-drop creature, but I will take this hand. I think the Voice of Victory is very good. Basic, can't be wasted off of that. I guess we can play the Ajani, and then if they Smallpox or Liliana, it's really bad for them. Thoughtseize, you can take one of my Ajanis, you can't take them both. You can probably take the Voice or the Staff here. Voice is something that attacks very well through things like Tabernacle. Static Prison gives us an answer to any permanent, so maybe they want that gone. I took one of the Ajanis. Not enjoying this Aether Hub, to be honest with you. Getting one stab at having some red mana feels bad. Right, the Ajani is actively great against our opponent. Any Edict effect gives us a Planeswalker that's going to be difficult for them to engage with. Thoughtseize, sure, you can take something else. Is this the Voice? They might take the Magus, because if we draw a land, we get to blow up there as a Saga. Yeah, there we go. I don't think that's what our opponent wanted to take, but it's what ended up being the choice for them. Right, Elegant Parlor. In you go. Goblin Bombardment, yes please. Let's put these two in. Because we drew the Goblin Bombardment, I'm going to play the Voice. This gives us the ability to ping with our tokens that come out of the Voice. So we can take out a construct easily. Tactical creatures. Let's get mobilizing. This is a horrible situation for our opponent. This is what I want the deck to be doing though. Alright, let's ping our opponent with a Cat Warrior. Our opponent can't cast spells on our turn, so we know this is going to work. We flip this, we dome our opponent, then we drain them out with our bombardment. There's a turn 4 kill. Ping them with the Warriors here. See, that felt real good. We need to do that some more. We're on the board. The Voice looked very good when we was going alongside like Ajani and Goblin Bombardment stuff. Also felt really good with the Staff as well. I'm liking some of the things I'm seeing here. Let's go to round 4. Yeah, we can game with this. So again, we probably get the planes so we don't get wasted off of our 2-drops. It's quite nice and refreshing just playing like a pretty fair aggro deck and actually being viable. You know, we play 1-drop, we play a 2-drop, play a couple more 1 and 2 drops, turn things sideways. Got a little bit of fun synergy in there. Oh wow, our 1 mana Hymn to Turak. Not bad. I'll take that trade. Whenever your 1-drop creature gets Force of Will, it does feel pretty good. Suggests to me my opponent is on a relatively fair deck. Dragon's Rage Channeler. That's a pretty fair card. Mishra's Bauble. So probably playing like the Corey Cutter knife build. Corey Steel Cutter, sorry. I think I played that on the channel a couple of days ago. I'm not sure when the video will be out, but you can see it in action. Looks pretty fun. Alright, so we're getting baubled. We're just going to ram these into days because we've got 2 of them. Right, they have the days. That takes us further away from a Murktide Regent, ruining our day. We still don't have Delirium, but if they go land sorcery, then they will. Alright, Mishra's Bauble. Can this find them Delirium? They kept the card on top, so it's not going to find them Delirium. Right, I will play a Wasteland. We will Wasteland them here. They'll float mana, we'll go to our next main phase. I'm just going to like straight up bolt us here. They're Pyroblasting just to Surveil. Wow. I think that was their only land. Okay, they put a land on top now. Now we can jam this Ajani. It's a pretty good prize. Next turn we can Bombardiers and flip the Ajani potentially. Although we still could be playing into a daze then. Or we can Amped Raptor and just try and get 2 spells going. A Lightning Bolt targeting our Ajani. Sure. Are they going to find Delirium this time? Still no Delirium. Right, I'll play this out. I will deploy an Amped Raptor. I've just had enough. Okay. Fair enough, I suppose. They've left the game. Maybe they have to go. We're going to board out these 2 Magus of the Moons in favour of to Red Blast. And we're going to board out the third in favour of a Battle of Bywater. I'd like this other Battle of Bywater. What do we replace it with? Probably one of the Wastelands. We didn't really want to be Wastelanding a Delver deck. We'll submit this and see if our opponent comes back for game number 2. Right, our opponent's back, and we're into a game here. We've got one drop into a bunch of removal into Broadside Bombardiers. This is okay. It's not amazing, but it's fine. We've got some draw steps that can help us out here. A Mishra's Bauble, just straight up like that. So they're deciding if they're going to... Okay. So normally when you see a Mishra's Bauble played out of that, it's because you want to decide between playing a fetch land and a volcanic, so that you know if you want the card on top of your library, and then you can sequence your lands slightly differently. Okay, let's get a 1-mana 1/2 in play. It can be Dazed, it can be Bolted. A Brainstorm response. They're not going to get maximum value out of this Brainstorm. They shouldn't have Force of Will still in their deck, to be honest. This is not a matchup where you want Force of Will. You just want maximum, like, 1-for-1 interaction. So you want your Hydroblast if you've got them. Okay, they are playing Force of Will, but I'm very happy to trade my 1-mana spell for 2 of our opponent's cards, when both of our game plans are relatively similar, of just playing some guys, turning them sideways, and, you know, interacting with our opponent here and there. An Amped Raptor. If they forced rather than dazing, that suggests to me they don't have a daze. So I'm going to play an Amped Raptor. Where are you going to find us? An Ajani. Well, this is where Amped Raptor looks great. I do dump on Amped Raptor a lot. The ceiling of this card is great, to be fair. The floor is, like, abysmal, but the ceiling is pretty good. It's just where between that floor and ceiling it ends up most of the time. I think we're going to get a Lightning Bolt on our Ajani this turn. No. Okay. We have answers for their scary guys. We have Broadside, which can just wreck house. Red and red. Seeking of the Beast. Alright, I think we are pulling further and further away. This is not the time when you ideally want to Seek the Beast to be cast. A Delver of Secrets and a Force of Will. So these are only available to our opponent's end step. This is probably not the time that I would cast the Seek the Beast unless I was looking for something very specific that I desperately needed. I guess they do, you know, turn it into a Delver, which is fine. But this next turn cycle is going to be brutal. They already showed us they didn't have a daze last turn, so I'm just going to continue to punish our opponent. I believe we want to get a basic planes here. We play the Bombardiers. Go to attacks. Alright, let's scoop in, because what's going to happen is they're going to lose both of their creatures this turn. Because we Bombardiers one, and then we flip the Ajani, make a guy, kill their other one, and then we've also got 4 cards in hand to our opponent's 2. Whereas if they didn't have Force of Will and just had 1-for-1 interaction, they'd have more tools to interact here. I just don't think Force of Will is the interaction you want in a matchup that's this fair. Alright, 2 and 2, one more round to go. Let's see if we can put a nice little 3-2 with the deck on the board. This stinky Aether Hub is not what I really want to see, but we will keep this one. It kind of means we need to get a Plateau, which exposes us to Wasteland. If this was just another Plateau, it would be better. So I think that's one change that I would like to make. I don't know how the build that was running 2 of these managed to get on, because that seems like too many. Misty Rainforest. Are we just going to get Omni-tailed again? Could be. It's going to be rough for us if that is the case. Like I said, I don't think we get to play around Wasteland here, so we're just going to jam a Plateau, fire in a little Pussycat, and try and grow our army with 2 Pussycats. Maybe we can start throwing some Broadside Bombardiers action in the mix. Is this going to be a hedge maze? It is. This feels a lot like the start that the last Omni-tail player had, where they buried us quite easily. A Veil of Summer. Yep, that's what it is. I have a bad time, I think. You can certainly help this matchup by playing a bunch more Pyroblasts, which is probably a thing we should be doing, really. Although most of the list I saw of the Red White Energy deck were only playing 2 Pyroblasts, so I was wondering why that was the case. They shuffle off that Ponder. Is it better to get another Kitty Cat, or is it better to get the Ajani? If we draw a land, the Ajani being in play is better. Alright, I think we're just going to be mana efficient here. This makes it like more power than if we just had one more Ocelot Pride. But if we draw a land next turn, we can Bombardiers, smash her a bunch, throw a cat token, flip our Ajani, dome our opponent for some more, and then they can just cast Emrakul and win the game. Just cycling Alorian Revealed. That doesn't strike me as our opponent casting a Show and Tell this turn. They haven't been countering any of our things. I suppose the correct play here is to attack with everything, play this other Ajani, let the Ajani die, flip our Ajani, make some cats, deal some damage. Can I have this Ajani? We'll keep this one. So we'll flip this, and I believe we are putting a counter on all of our cats. So we're on 13. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So if we plus and then plus, we kill them. If we make another guy here, does that kill them next turn? So we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So it does kill them if we just make a guy and then put counters on next turn. We don't have a red permanent, so we're not going to be able to blast them with the ability, which is why drawing the land for the Bombardiers would have been better. Alright, Ocelot Pride. Alright, they're playing the new regrowth, but it's instant speed and blue. I really like this card. I don't think it's like super amazing, but I just think it's a nice little role player that pitches to relevant things. I actually really like this in like Bant Mystic Sanctuary control. It just gives you a nice way of looping whatever you need to then. A Brainstorm. Our opponent is dead on board, so they got to find the goods this turn. Ancient Tomb. Show and Tell. I kind of think getting a flying blocker might be useful here. So I kind of want to put in this Staff of the Storyteller for that reason. It's an Omniscience. How bad is it for us? So they should be able to just cast their entire deck at this point. Alright. Jesus, take the wheel and all that. Let's just see how this goes. Stock up. Stock up finds more stock up. Stock up finds more stock up. Then we get an Emrakul. Alright, second Omniscience. I don't know if I've seen this art from Omniscience before. Some sort of weird little anime thing. Sure. Cunning Wish. So this gets them shared summons, which gets them an Emrakul. Firemind's Foresight. Okay, so that gets them another Cunning Wish and a bunch of other bits and pieces. So they get Aurora Procession, which allows them to rebuy. So they can basically replay their whole deck until they can loop Emrakuls. I'm okay with letting our opponent have the game there. They're going to loop Emrakuls a bunch, and then they're going to kill us. We would like 2 red elemental blasts, please. I guess the Containment Priest, in case I have to show and tell in something else, is fine. I don't really want the plows. I do like the Static Prison. I don't think I'm about that Broadside Bombardiers life. I'm also not really about this Magus of the Moon life either. Alright, we'll try this. I don't think it's going to be very good. This looks like a pretty horrible matchup. We could board in the Deafening Silences, but... Oh, maybe, do we want the Deafening Silences? We bought them in last time. They didn't feel like we're doing much. Like we have them instead of the Magus and the 2 bombardments. Okay, we'll try it with the silences in. Like in a situation like what we just experienced, it would be enough to stop them. Although last time I played against them, they hard cast an Omniscience, which wasn't what I wanted. We can't cast any of our spells, so we mulligan this one. No 1-drop is really annoying, but I think we have to keep this one. So this gets rid of one of our problems. So I guess we just put back the Staff. So we get Surveil Land on turn 1. If they show and tell, we put in a Static Prison and eat their thing. Which means we're kind of incentivized to Amped Raptor and maybe keep the energy around, just so we can avoid having a Static Prison falling over and bringing back the Omniscience, which will inevitably kill us. Alright, Arid Mesa, get out of here. Hello, Elegant Parlor. Another Static Prison. It's not really what I want. I don't mind the energy from it. I guess we'll take it. Maybe the energy from the Aether Hub going into a Static Prison will be relevant this game. I think once we've used this to get the pump off of a Guide of Souls, I think, this league, and that's about it. So I'm not super in love with the Aether Hub here. Alright, we've got 3 power of Pussycats. Some angry cat warriors. Mr. Rainforest, they're just going to get us on turn 3? Could be. Alright. Amped Raptor, what are you going to do? Our opponent pretty much just gets to Goldfish against us. This is a good Hydroblast target. A Brainstorm, sure. This could find a Broadside Bombardiers. It's usually pretty big. I will take a Guide of Soul because this just gives us more energy later on. So it does cost us 1 energy now. But we're going to need to keep fueling our Static Prison to make sure that our opponent can't just cast all of their spells for free. They've achieved Show and Tell mana. They are casting the One Ring. Okay. I guess we're supposed to play the Static Prison on the One Ring here. But if we play the Amped Raptor, just get more damage in play, and then just try and use the One Ring to hurt our opponent a little bit. I stacked these the wrong way around. My mistake. A Voice of Victory. This attacks for a lot. Is it worth 2 of my energy? I think it is. Because whenever we make tokens from this, we're going to make a bunch of energy. Is there any point attacking here? If we want to put counters on something, we can attack. I think that's probably okay. What would I like to put counters on? Just the Guide of Souls itself. Because we've got a pretty strong energy reservoir here with the Voice of Victory plus the Guide of Souls. So I think we can afford to just pump our guy a little bit. How much damage have we got next turn? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So we have lethal damage in play. And the One Ring is burning them. So they need to go this turn and also not get stumped by a Static Prison. Turning guys sideways sometimes works. We can obviously still lose. They can just Show and Tell in and do the whole Emrakul thing. Okay, here we go. Is our Static Prison good enough? If they've got the Cunning Wish, it might work out for them. Cunning Wish. So they're going to go get Sublime Epiphany, and then they're going to counter this. And then they're going to draw their deck, and then we're going to die. Firemind's Foresight. Sure. This is an instant, so they just get to get a 3-drop, a 2-drop, and a 1-drop. So we've got Cunning Wish, they got the Regrowth spell, and presumably they're going to get like a Brainstorm or something. There it is. There is a Brainstorm. So they're buying back Firemind's Foresight again. Yep. They're getting Hydroblasts. They're just gonna keep doing this. So what we got? Cunning Wish now. Shared Summons. Shared Summons gets them the Emrakul. How are they stopping this? They haven't put the Sublime Epiphany on the stack yet. There's a Brainstorm. Cunning Wish. Release the Ants. So the Release the Ants is a kill that I've not seen in a hot minute. They won the Clash. They have an Emrakul the Eon's Torn on their deck. So what happens is, they just cast this, it goes back to their hand again and again and again until we get killed by Release the Ants. Because they're always going to win the Clash because we don't have a 16 or greater mana cost spell. Okay, so we finished this league with a 2-3. Not a good record, really. We did get a little bit unfortunate. Like two of the matchups we played against were ones that are always going to beat us, right? We're not beating the Omnitel deck. I think we're better against Sneak and Show, but maybe we should be playing a bunch more Red Blast to be better against Omnitel. So maybe for Containment Priest, trying to overlap on Reanimator and stuff as well isn't the way to go. And we should just turn 2 of these at least into Red Blast, and that gives us a little bit more purchase in the matchup. So that's probably what I would think about doing to help that matchup. And then the blue-black matchup felt pretty rough because they were like getting a bunch of removal spells and whatnot, so it was a little bit tough for us as well. But overall, I think this deck is fine. We didn't really get to enjoy Voice of Victory very much, but whenever it came up, it looked very good. So, yeah, I think this card is going to be seeing a little bit of play. I'm not really sure what the best use of this card is just yet. The tokens that make are warriors, and the creature itself is a human, so you can't just whack it into like a human's deck. Well, obviously you can, and it's still pretty good, but you're not going to be getting pump from your tokens coming into play, so like pump your champion the parish or whatever. So I'm not really sure, but I think just like any sort of like low to the ground white deck can utilize this relatively well. But I think what we're doing here is not a bad place for it. You could even see it in like an initiative deck, so you can actually get your initiative creatures down and know that the coast is clear and that there's not going to be some random Orcish Bowmaster's into removal spell that wrecks your day. So could be an interesting one. I really like the synergy with Staff of the Storyteller. Maybe we could try this in the Otter deck that we played a little while back, which is like a blue-white Otter deck using Staff of the Storyteller, Storm Chaser's Talent, and I can't remember if that run as a saga or not, but it runs something else to make some tokens, and that deck felt pretty good. So maybe Voice of Victory is an interesting thing that we could put in there. But what I've noticed when playing these energy decks sometimes is that if you don't have your pieces together, because individually none of your cards are very good. Like you're playing a 1 mana 1/2 or a 1 mana 1/1 that can make some guys is okay. Like Ajani on its own isn't doing very much. It needs a way to flip and really get going. You know, Broadside Bombardiers is okay on its own. Obviously, we've got lots of stuff to throw with it, so it's going to be better than most here. Amped Raptor is fine. Sometimes it just cascades into something that doesn't do anything, and that's a bit annoying. Stuff of Storyteller is fine on its own. It's just a redraw and a 1/1. But yes, our whole deck is built around synergies, and if your opponent can surgically remove certain parts of it, they can collapse your engine a little bit, which happened to us a couple of times today, especially against the blue-black deck. I would change the Aether Hub for either another basic or another Plateau. Either one will do. But yeah, this deck certainly feels viable. I definitely think we need more Red Blast to help in that Omnitel matchup, which is everywhere right now. But yeah, I think the deck feels fine. I do think there's more tweaking to be done to like perfect all the numbers on this one. Like, do we have to be a Wasteland deck? I'm not sure we do. Alright, I think we're done with this one, so please remember to like and subscribe. It does help the channel out. And goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles, and lastly the higher tier gives you all of the above as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.